Yo, yo, what's good, everybody? Appreciate you guys tuning in to the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. Got a special show for you guys today. We're going to talk about the running back landscape. Plenty going on in the NFL right now. Lots of news. Lamar Jackson, so much stuff going on. So we got a fire episode for you guys. RB landscape in NFL. So I was supposed to drop this yesterday, but with the whole Scott Turner thing, I said, you know what? Today's the day to go ahead and drop this video. Gonna be plenty movement. I can't tell you where people are gonna go. What I can tell you guys is that it's gonna be in a fun, exciting off season. Let's get it. So, guys, once again, welcome to the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel, the Talking Sports with Manny podcast, RB landscape. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. I'm gonna share plenty RBs that are free agents, plenty RBs that have agent backs, plenty RBs that are going to be losing their jobs, and plenty RBs that can possibly get cut and replaced by rookies. I got my boy Shilor in the building, man. Appreciate you hopping on the stream. Called you earlier because I needed your advice on something, but got it taken care of. So we're going to go ahead and have fun with this show. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Get on Twitter. Actually, let me pull it up from Twitter first, and then I'll share my screen. So I saw this guy, and he put up a pretty good post today, pretty much of the entire RB landscape, and he did it in a way to where you can have stuff done through like I guess, a spreadsheet. So real organized, and I love that, and I appreciate that about him. So, all right, there it is, there it is. Now all I have to do is share my screen, and then it's on and popping. All right, let's see. Share screen, Twitter, hey, bookmarks. There we go. There we go. So I don't know if you guys can see the screen, but pretty much this is it right here. Let me click on the first one. So you look at the free agents. You got Saquon Barkley, you got Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery, Devin Singletary, Kareem Hunt, Raheem Mostert, Miles Sanders. You have Pollard. You have Jamal Williams, Madison, Harris, Rashad Penny, Deontay Foreman, P. Ryan, Boston Scott, McKinnon. I mean, Jeff Wilson, Drake. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And also James Robinson. He's, that situation is kind of funny right now with that trade. They kind of like just kept him and didn't trade him. So yeah, all this is very, very interesting right now. And then you have the rookies that are coming in: Bijan Robinson, Gibbs, Tucker, Evans, Bigsby, a chain, R. Johnson, Vaughn, McIntosh. Some of these rookies I know very well. Some of these rookies I don't know very well. But let's look at the Atlanta Falcons. You have James Conner, right? But we know that James Conner is a free agent. Sorry, he's not a free agent. He could be cut and he could be traded. Most likely, James Conner gets cut if he's under contract. Why? He's an agent back. He's older. And it's time for Arizona to find their future running back. This running back draft right here that is coming in is going to be one of the most powerful RB drafts, similar to the 2017 draft that had Alvin Kamara and all of these different guys. So James Conner, he's not a guarantee to be on that roster. All they have on that roster right now currently is Kentonia Ingram. Now, does a guy like Kareem Hunt go to Arizona to join Kentonia Ingram and maybe a rookie in the later rounds? These are all the situations that you have to look at, especially if you're playing Dynasty. Also, if you're playing just regular fantasy, or if you're just following the NFL. You just have to know where these running backs are going to land. For me right now, I'm not purchasing any running backs in Dynasty. Why? Because I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be a huge shakeup. And then even guys that have a lock to be on a roster right now might not be in a roster because they still might get cut. They still could get traded. So you have to factor all these different things that could happen in the NFL. Algier had a 1,000-yard season, right? Does that mean that Algier is a franchise back? No. They have Cordero Patterson, who's a special teamer, but also came on last year. I see Algier as a guy that possibly, takes over the like that RB1 for right now. And then I see them bringing in a cheap vet, or another rookie. Do they go Bijan Robinson? Bijan Robinson, Algier, in a power run scheme, ATL loves to run the ball. So I don't see. I mean, they are going to bring in another back. Cordero Patterson can still be that gadget guy, the guy that can catch, the guy that can, he can supplement. He's a lot older. He shouldn't even be on the team, but he does so much for the team, and he's a big leader. So I see Cordero Patterson still being there in ATL, but I do see ATL looking for that franchise back, whether it's Jahmyr Gibbs, whether it's Evans or Tucker. I mean, there's so many really good rookie running backs coming in this year. I'll be doing another video down the line breaking down these rookie RBs. But for now, it's just kind of giving you I'm just painting a picture, showing you guys what the RB landscape looks like as of today, as of right now. We now move on to Baltimore, right? J.K. Dobbins. He cannot stay healthy, and the best ability is availability. And J.K. Dobbins just has not been healthy. He's had some pretty good games. Even this year, he had some solid games down the stretch. I'm going to pull some up on our Sleeper app. And I love J.K. Dobbins. I'm actually purchasing J.K. Dobbins low in Dynasty right now, but I'm also using J.K. Dobbins as a filler for deals. Like there was a deal I was trying to get today, involved a really good wide receiver, and I tossed in a late first with a J.K. Dobbins to go ahead and make that trade work. So Dobbins is very, very talented, but still, Baltimore could still draft another running back. And that running back coming into this system, I can see a guy like Gus Edwards getting cut. They can move on with Dobbins and a rookie, and that rookie could be brought in to take over for J.K. Dobbins. Even though the J.K. Dobbins, I think he was a second-round pick when he was drafted, he continues to get hurt. When it's time to pay him, they're not going to pay him. So they're going to be looking for J.K. Dobbins' successor. I'm telling you right now, as good as J.K. Dobbins and as talented as he is, he possibly does not make it past 4 years with the Ravens. You can say, well, Manny, what are you talking about? Well, look at Josh Jacobs. He didn't get that fifth-year option. Contract year, he goes crazy, 1,400 yards plus for the Vegas Raiders. And now he's still a free agent. So in the NFL, RB is a position that you don't pay. You only pay the elite of all elites, guys like Kamara, guys like Christian McCaffrey, and some of these Derrick Henry, some of these elites of elite backs. Those are the guys that get paid. Ezekiel Elliott in his time. But now you see how the contract looks year after year after year. After a while, it's like this such a good contract is not such a good contract anymore. But I was talking about Dobbins. I just feel that the Ravens having that offense that they have, and then we don't know what happens with Lamar Jackson. So that's also a factor. Those are some of the things that we have to factor in. So it's going to be interesting to see, do the Ravens bring in another guy? Do they say, hey, we're going to give J.K. Dobbins one more chance? We run with Edwards and we go with a, 6th or 7th round pick, or maybe a mid-round pick to then supplement, right? After a while, you have to make a decision. Do you pay Dobbins? Do you not pay Dobbins? And 9 times out of 10, you don't pay these guys. Sometimes these guys take decent deals just because they know the open market is not good for RBs. Now, you have a guy like Cook, right, in Buffalo. They had Singletary. Singletary, 3 years, 4 years, gave them nothing. Now it's time for Singletary to go. Right now, you drafted James Cook in the second round. James Cook did not pan out. He didn't pan out like you thought he would, but he has flash. He shows potential. At the end of the day, if these guys have a chance to get a Bijan Robinson or even get a Jahmyr Gibbs, there's no doubt in my mind that they do that. But how it is right now for Buffalo is they need a big bruising running back. Whether it's free agency, whether it's draft, they're going to bring in a guy that comes in and that can do some of the tough stuff. Zach Moss was that tough guy, right? He was that bigger guy, that stronger guy. He's now gone. I'm telling you guys, the way that running backs are flipped in the NFL is crazy. You're here today, you're gone tomorrow. The fans love you today, the fans hate you tomorrow. The coaches love you today, the coaches hate you tomorrow. And it's just how the RB market goes. It's going to be a position that you can get through the draft. You can get cheap. You can get guys like Pacheco who come in 7th round. You can just get guys that are undrafted like James Robinson. You can get guys like Elijah Mitchell late in drafts. And that has been successful for teams. You now have a lifespan for running backs that if a running back gives you 7 years, that's amazing. These running backs are not lasting like they used to back in the day when you had Jerome Bettis and some of these other greats. They're built differently. I don't know what they're drinking. I don't know what they're eating. Bones are brittle. You see a lot of ACL tears, Achilles. You see all these kinds of different injuries, lower body. So things are changing. So that's why NFL teams, I always say, GMs should draft RBs every other year. So every 2 years, you're drafting a back, you're drafting a back, you're drafting a back. Why? Because they don't last long for one. Number two, you don't want to pay them. So you can grab let's say you grab a back this year in the second round. In 2 years, you want to grab one in the fourth or fifth round. You just have to continue to find backs in the draft. And then this year being a deep draft, you're going to see so many running backs go this year. You're going to see so many undrafted free agent running backs go. You're going to see so many other free agent running backs go. So when you start to see guys like P. Ryan and Boston Scott, and then in Dynasty, what I'm doing is I'm studying certain teams, certain tendencies, and then I'm trying to see, for example, Dalvin Cook. We all know that Dalvin Cook stays hurt. He can't stay healthy, right? So my target is, who are they going to draft to be the backup to Dalvin Cook? Not only can that backup end up taking over the job as the guy, maybe in 2 years, that guy could also be a nice handcuff if Dalvin Cook was to get hurt. And then, of course, in dynasty drafts, that guy might go in the third round. So if you have all these 302s, 305s, 307s, it's going to be very important because you're going to have some wide receivers that fall into the second round in dynasty rookie drafts. And then you're going to see so many running backs that are potential handcuffs or RB3s on their teams. They end up becoming RB2s and even RB1s at the end of the year. You got to be patient with running backs, but you got to invest in them. I've turned over a new leaf. I don't solely invest so much in running backs anymore. I draft them. For example, let's say the year that Khalil Herbert came into the league, he was going late rounds in rookie drafts. Had I drafted Khalil Herbert then, he might be getting the job now. Now it's like, wow. So your taxi should be full of running backs, RB handcuffs, especially if you're doing what I'm doing by not investing in running backs. You can get these guys in the draft, second, third round of your drafts, and then boom, once they hatch, you're good to go. Ramondre Stevenson, he was another one when a fourth round pick out of Oklahoma. You had people saying, oh, Ramondre Stevenson, he's all right. He's not that good. Bill Belichick, his offense, this is his offense, that. Damien Harris, see, they drafted Damien Harris. Then guess what? 2 years later, they go on and draft a guy that can possibly be the guy. So I grabbed Ramondre Stevenson like late in, late third round, fourth round. Sometimes I traded fourth round picks to get him. Sometimes I got him in free agents, in free agency in dynasty leagues. Sometimes he went undrafted. And what happens now is he has a great season. He had an RB1 season due to Damien Harris being hurt. Damien Harris, another guy that is on his way out. So now Ramondre Stevenson he's now a top back, a guy that I traded, let's say a third or a fourth to get. Now people are approaching me with multiple first round picks for a guy like Ramondre Stevenson. So you have to look at the landscape of things. You have to kind of like look at contracts. See, hey, when is this guy contract up? When is he leaving? Is he declining? Is he, good? Is he not good? So you have to watch all these different things because there's so many different scenarios. And my boy Sheila always says the running back situation or the running back room is a dangerous game. And it's a real dangerous game in dynasty and fantasy. They always get hurt. And that's why now I invest in wide receivers. They have a longer lifespan. A really good wide receiver can go for 10 years. Look at how good DeAndre Hopkins has been. Go look at his numbers. Go look at Mike Evans. If you drafted Mike Evans as a rookie in rookie drafts and you had him then till now, man, you have benefited big time. Opposed to drafting a guy, let's say, I don't know, even like a guy like Dalvin Cook now. He's coming to an end. You have all these legends, all these great backs. They're all coming to an end. There were guys like Adrian Peterson who lost 2 years because of injury. So lots of different scenarios. Let's just keep moving real quick. So you have the Carolina Panthers. On contract right now, you have Hubbard, you have Blackshear. What does that mean? What does that tell you? Carolina is a hot spot. This is a team that traded away Christian McCaffrey. Don't you think that they're going to draft another running back? Maybe Bijan Robinson? Maybe a guy like, what's his name, Jahmyr Gibbs? Now, I do understand that Gibbs and Bijan Robinson are going to be guys that possibly go in the first round. So I got somebody on Facebook. It just says Facebook user. It says running back is definitely the hardest position to keep ahead of the curve on. It's like it's said in baseball often, Better to sell a year too early than a year too late. Absolutely. I don't know who this is because Facebook doesn't let us, show the names, but appreciate that. That was a great comment. Yes, it is hard to kind of figure out running backs. So I like to sell early. So some of the previous trades that I've made in Dynasty, I traded away Alvin Kamara, which we're going to get to Alvin Kamara soon. Traded away Alvin Kamara for Drake London. And did I get a pick with it? I might have got a third round pick with that trade. So it's time to start trading some of these veteran guys. Like you said, you want to trade these guys a year early. Because if not, these guys pretty much end up dying on your roster. And you don't want that if you play Dynasty. You don't want these guys to die on your roster. Oh, I didn't know that it didn't show my name. It's Christian. Hey, what's up, bro? Appreciate you hopping on the stream, man. It's my guy, Christian, man. A great guy. But yeah, with running backs, even when you have guys like, let's say last year, Michael Carter was a rookie, right? He came in, he tore it up. He did some great things. And then with injury, he kind of slowed down. Everybody was thinking, you know what? Michael Carter is going to be the guy. This is the year for Michael Carter. And guess what happened? They drafted Breece Hall. Everybody is hype about Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce this, Dameon Pierce that. I get it. But you know what could happen? They might go stud running back. And if that happens, you have to watch draft capital. Even when you see guys that draft a guy in the second round, sometimes if they're feeling somehow, they might go ahead and get another guy in the first round. Sometimes you might say, oh, second round is too high. I mean, it's an investment to then draft a running back the next year. Sometimes it's all about situations. You have guys who draft quarterbacks one year and then go the next year draft another quarterback just because it's their guy. And the same thing with running backs. You got to draft these guys early and often. You just got to have as many as possible. All right, let's keep going. You got the Chicago Bears, Khalil Herbert. He could be the guy. David Montgomery's a free agent. We don't know what happens with David Montgomery this year. Maybe they re-sign him. Maybe they don't. Maybe Justin Fields is there. Maybe Justin Fields is not. So a lot could happen and could change for offenses. Remember, people were out on Josh Jacobs. I stayed with Josh Jacobs because I've been a fan of Jacobs since his rookie season. So situations are different. You cannot go into each year with the same mentality. That's why you got to switch up your teams as often as you can, because guess what happens? Things change. Things change. People's change. Coordinators change. People get fired. Philosophies change. So you have to be in the know and kind of know what's going on. Fantasy is just up and down. It's up and down. So to keep going, we go to the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Mixon's job is not safe. They might say, you know what? We are out of this contract. If you look at Joe Mixon's numbers this year, Joe Mixon did not have a great year this year. I'm going to pull up the numbers just real quick. Bear with me. Yeah, Joe Mixon, overall, he did okay. Let me pull him up. Joe Mixon. All right. So overall, he had a good year. So he was RB10 this year in PPR, right? But this is what I mean. He had 800 yards rushing. And what saved Joe Mixon this year was, first of all, 7 rushing touchdowns. He had 60 receptions, career high, 60 receptions. And then he had 441 receiving yards. He also had 2 receiving scores. But this is not the Joe Mixon we saw last year. Joe Mixon from last year, phenomenal. He ended up, what was he? RB4 in PPR formats last year. This year, RB10. And then even with his performances, he was not great. You go look at the numbers, it was up and down, 21, 11, 6, 17, 11, 16, 18, 12, 55. Now, that 55-point game is what kind of shot Joe Mixon up. So it wasn't that Joe Mixon just had some amazing season. Because after that, it was a bye week. Then he had 9, 12, 10, 17, 1, and then 17 in the week 18. Hey, if you want to run with a guy that's getting you 9 to 12 points, I cannot rock with Joe Mixon. So he's 26, right? He's been in the league 6 years. He's in the elite offense, but he didn't really necessarily give you an elite performance. If you remove that 55-point game that Joe Mixon had, what did he really do? So all I'm saying is that Joe Mixon's job isn't safe. He might get traded. He might get cut. And then they might just say, hey, let's go younger. If he gets traded, they're definitely going to go younger. So a lot of things can happen. You can see Joe Mixon go to a team that can afford that contract. Maybe the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know. You got Cleveland. Nick Chubb is safe. Nick Chubb is safe. Nick Chubb is great. His backup right now is Jerome Ford. If you are in dynasty leagues, go and purchase Jerome Ford right now. I'm telling you guys, just in case they don't re-sign Dearness Johnson, we know that Kareem Hunt is gone. Kareem Hunt is praise dancing right now like, man, get me the heck out of Cleveland. Kareem Hunt has suffered enough, but that's his fault. He took the bag, came back to Cleveland to take a job under Nick Chubb, and then it didn't work out. So now he's looking crazy, right? But he might get a job somewhere else, but not the money that he wants. So you can kind of see why Kareem Hunt took the money. Maybe that was the best available, job he had. But yeah, Jerome Ford, I don't know what happens there. It's interesting. He was a fifth round pick last year. This year, I see the Browns still taking somebody else, but as of right now, as of today, Jerome Ford is the handcuff to Nick Chubb. So that might be the guy that you want to go ahead and grab. Uh, let's go ahead and move on to Dallas. You got Ezekiel Elliott, man. Look, this guy has been terrible last few years, but somehow, some way, he stays fantasy relevant. Let me just pull up his numbers real quick. This year, Ezekiel Elliott ended up RB 22, and that's a miracle. This dude should have been RB 35, but he ended up RB 22. He ran the ball 231 times, which is almost what he had last year in terms of running the ball. He had 876 yards rushing. What saved him was the 12 touchdowns. He had the 12 touchdowns, but then guess what? He had a career low in receptions, 17 receptions. And this almost took Ezekiel Elliott out, but the 12 rushing touchdowns saved him. He's now 27 years old. He's getting up there in age. He's been in the league 7 years. And all I can see is Pollard possibly getting the bag. And then now you have Ezekiel Elliott as a guy that could possibly get cut. I'm telling you, this is going to be the year of replacement backs. All these backs that have been legends, they're about to change. It says, hey, Ezekiel, EF, Ezekiel, and EF. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, this is a Washington fan. He's saying F Ezekiel, F Tony. Okay. Gotcha. I'm like, I thought, so what kind of language is this? I said, man, this guy's speaking a whole nother language, but it's all good. It's all good. The message came across. I definitely understand what you mean. But for fantasy purposes, hey, these guys have helped me make tons of money, even being a Commanders fan. Sometimes, hey, you got to rock with people that you don't like in real life to make some money. And you do it at your jobs anyways, right? Some of you guys don't like your coworkers, but guess what? You do what you got to do to go ahead and get paid, right? But anyway, so yeah, Ezekiel Elliott, man, he was saved by the 12 rushing touchdowns. He might be a guy that is on his way out. So right now, Davis is the backup to Ezekiel Elliott, just for the simple fact that Tony Pollard is a free agent. Facebook user says, if Tony doesn't resign with Dallas, where do you think he lands? Man, I think he lands wherever they give him the bag. Honestly, where I would like to see Tony Pollard would be on a team like Vegas. Why not? Vegas has an opening right now. The only running back that Vegas has on its roster is Samir White. But why would Vegas pay Tony Pollard and not pay Josh Jacobs? Another scenario is Tony Pollard in Miami. Right now, Miami has no backs under contract. Everybody is gone. Miami has an open depth chart right now. Miami's a great fit. They love to run the ball. They love speed. Tony Pollard can catch the ball. Really, Miami is the ideal fit. But also, Miami could be after one of these top-tier rookie running backs. So it's real tricky. It's real tricky. It's all going to come down to who has a job and then also who has money. So it's going to be interesting. But some of the places that I would like to see Tony Pollard in is I don't want to see him on the Eagles. I'm tired of Eagles getting backs, but Miles Sanders is on his way out. So, it's going to be jobs. But for me, I would love to see Tony Pollard possibly on Miami, possibly maybe even in Pittsburgh. I know they have Najee Harris, but Tony Pollard gives you something different. So there's not a lot of jobs available. It's going to be real interesting. Even Tony Pollard on the Detroit Lions. I love that. You got Swift. He's on a rookie deal. And then you have Pollard. Swift has never really been healthy. So why not? Why not? So somebody said KC. Tony Pollard on KC would be, man, that would be sick. But do they have the money to pay him? Are they going to what is KC going to do at a wide receiver? You have Juju Smith-Schuster, right? You have Sky Moore. You have all these free agents MVS, some of these guys might go. And if all these guys go and they want to invest running back, they already drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's ultra trash to me. So there's a possibility that Tony Pollard goes there. It's going to be interesting because the money that these free agent running backs are thinking they're going to get, they're not going to get. The only guy that gets paid out of this free agent class is possibly Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs. Those are the only two guys that are worth getting the bag. Tony Pollard, maybe. That's a maybe. He's just done this 1 year, and he's even doing this with help. So can Tony Pollard lead an entire backfield by himself? I don't think he can. All right, so we talked about the Lions briefly. You have DeAndre Swift. You have Jamal Williams, who's leaving. He came from the Packers, got here, had 1,000 yards this season, and he also had 17 rushing touchdowns. Jamal Williams will go somewhere else and be an impact player, but he's not getting this 17 rushing touchdowns. We have to realize the Detroit Lions have a really good offensive line, and that's why they're able to run the ball like they do. DeAndre Swift, he scares me. In Dynasty, I am selling DeAndre Swift right now. He is not worth the price of admission. He's up and down. He even lost his job to guys like Justin Jackson. That's a guy that I can't trust moving forward. All right, we keep on moving. You see Denver. Javonte Williams is coming off that injury. Can you trust him? Is Javonte Williams still legit? It's going to take him a while to kind of get over that injury, but if he gets back to being fully healthy, he's one of the better running backs in the league. What's saving Javonte Williams in dynasty leagues is that, guess what? He's under that rookie contract, and it just bodes well for him, right? Outside of Javonte Williams, they have Edmonds, but I still see them bringing in a vet, or they bring in somebody through the draft. And I'm telling you, it's not going to be a top 3 pick. It's probably going to be rounds 4 to 7 in Denver. Chase Edmonds, I think he's done. I think he gets cut. He gets replaced by another vet or another rookie. Then you have also some Samaje Perine could be a fit for the Lions to take over that Jamal Williams role. He's real cheap, and he's a bigger back. He's strong back. He can catch. He can run. He just feels like a Detroit Lions type of guy. So Samaje Perine to the Lions maybe. Then you have an interesting one in Green Bay. Green Bay with Aaron Jones. We've been waiting for Aaron Jones to leave so it can be A.J. Dillon's season. But then you have these two guys, question marks. If, let's say, Jones is gone, is Dillon now the guy? It's too tricky. I don't even know what the contract situation is currently on A.J. Dillon, but one of those two guys are going to stick around, and then maybe they draft another guy to then replace A.J. Dillon when it's time. You go to Houston, you have Dameon Pierce. He was the darling. He was the guy that everybody told me, Dameon Pierce is a franchise back. Dameon Pierce is this. Dameon Pierce is that. When I watched Dameon Pierce play, he was similar to a guy like Brian Robinson Jr. He was similar to a guy like Isaiah Pacheco. All three guys are bruising backs. All three guys are guys that can get first downs. All three guys are capable of a 1,000-yard season and maybe 7 rushing touchdowns, maybe more. But I don't see franchise-changing running back out of Pierce, out of Robinson Jr., or Pacheco. They're all good backs. They're all RB2s. They're not RB1s. They're not franchise-changing backs. This year you have franchise-changing backs. I think that the Houston Texans draft somebody, if not in the first round, in the second round. They're going to bring in somebody that's a game changer, maybe Tucker, maybe Evans. And I'm telling you, then it's on and popping. Pierce is still a good piece. He's going to be a good piece for these guys for years to come. You got Indianapolis. This is interesting because you have Jonathan Taylor. He had that great rookie. That great season last year, second-year season. Then this year, he was derailed with injuries. But what I can't get behind is they traded away Nyheim Hines. They brought in Zach Moss. Zach Moss had a last game in Week 18. Zach Moss is showing that he's capable of being that RB2 for this team. But can the team trust Zach Moss? We've seen Zach Moss be so inconsistent. So you can see the Colts possibly drafting another guy. Now, look at what Zach Moss was able to do the last, let's say, 4 weeks of the season. 24 carries, 81 yards. 12 carries, 65 yards. 15 carries, 74 yards. Then the last week of the season when nobody cared, playing against Houston, guess what it was? It was 18 carries for 114 yards and a touchdown. It didn't even matter in week 18. So Zach Moss might be on his way out. So, it's plenty jobs. What's good, Mike Brown, man? Appreciate you hopping on the stream, man. Hey, if you guys are new to the channel, please like, please subscribe, please share. If you guys are watching on Facebook, please do me a favor and subscribe to the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. I appreciate it, y'all. So, yeah, Zach Moss, man. I don't know what to tell you, bro. You might not have a job next year. Now, the Jacksonville Jags, right? You got ETN. ETN played a heck of a season, and there was a time when I wanted to get rid of ETN. I did. I didn't trust him. I didn't know if this guy could be healthy enough. I didn't know if Trevor Lawrence was going to be it. But I'm glad nobody wanted ETN when I was trying to sell. And I was able to keep him, retain him, and then, rest is history. Outside of ETN, James Robinson thing didn't work out. James Robinson gets cut. He becomes a free agent. He will find a job. James Robinson is talented. But the backup right now, as of today, is Snoop Conner. So if you're playing Dynasty, go grab Snoop Conner just in case he ends up as the RB2 for the Jags this year. But I don't know. That Jags offense is going to be special. There's talks about DeAndre Hopkins getting traded. If DeAndre Hopkins gets traded or whatever, he might go to Jags. He might get cut. I don't know. He might go to the Jags. But at the same time, you got Calvin Ridley. So although the Jags are going to be a nice offense next year, a passing offense, I see Trevor Lawrence as a guy that passes for over 4,800 yards next year, a guy that passes for over 30 touchdowns next year. I think the Jags are taking that next step as an NFL franchise and even as an offense. So a lot could happen there. But what I'm saying is, whether it's Snoop, I can't even say Snoop. I can't even talk right now, y'all. So whether it's Snoop Conner or not, you want to find out who the backup is to ETN. Grab that guy, stash him on your roster because ETN is the smallest guy. He's the smallest guy, and he's a guy that will continue to get hurt, knocking on wood. Now, Kansas City, hot mess. That whole backfield is just disgusting. You have McKinnon, who caught 8 to 9 touchdowns this year. That's just how bad. That's a patch and go. Pacheco was nice. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is pretty much done. He's done. I'm not saying he gets cut, but he's pretty much done with that franchise. So this could be a franchise that's drafting a running back in the second, third round. This could be a franchise that's bringing in Kareem Hunt. Welcome back, Kareem Hunt. They're going to bring back a running back that's dynamic, whether you're young, whether you're old. They're going to bring back a guy that can catch and pass. What happens if the Kansas City Chiefs throw the bag at Saquon Barkley? What happens then? So a lot could happen. David Montgomery, that's another name. He's a solid back, but he does not get the respect he deserves. What if he goes to the right situation? He becomes a top 15 back, a top 10 back in the NFL, in Dynasty. So we talked about the Vegas Raiders briefly. They do have an opening. We don't know what they do. There. So I think it's ideal for the Vegas Raiders to draft the back, especially if they know that they're not going to pay Jacobs. So maybe they sign up, maybe they draft the back. The Chargers, they're set. You are good with Eckler. Spiller is still learning the offense. So you're good with that dynamic there. Eckler, Spiller, they might add a third guy later. You got the Rams. This one right here is very tricky. Cam Akers was up, down, up, down, up, down. We didn't even know what Cam Akers wanted to do. Are y'all keeping him? Are y'all cutting him? He's activated. He's not activated. Then you cut the guy that you had. You had what's his name? Darrell Henderson. You had Henderson there. You cut him. He's gone, and now you're bringing somebody else. So what is going on with the Rams? Are they keeping Akers? Are they not? You have Kyren Williams, who showed us nothing. So this could be a prime spot for a running back to get drafted. Because I'm telling you guys, when Cam Akers is done, he possibly does not get paid with the Rams moving forward anyways. But so Cam Akers in Dynasty, that's real tricky. Some are buying, some are not. If I'm a Cam Akers owner in Dynasty, I'm selling. We talked about Miami. They can do whatever they want to do at running back right now because they have nobody under contract. But I'm telling you guys this. They love to run the ball. No matter who they get, it's going to be a committee. 2 or 3 running backs in that committee. So you can grab some for cheap. Also, the NFL is going to a committee. There's no backfield that I trust and say, you know what, this guy is going to get the ball 30 times a game. Even Derrick Henry is getting so hurt that he's not able to do what he used to do. We're going to get to the Titans in a minute. Mike Brown says, is it over for Leonard Fournette? I'm 50-50 on this question. Why? If Tom Brady stays, Leonard Fournette becomes relevant. If Tom Brady leaves, Leonard Fournette becomes a nobody. He gets cut. He's on my potential cut list because if Tom Brady leaves, what do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers look like? Are they competing for championship still? Are they in rebuild mode? Do they pay some of these vets? Do they cut some of these vets? Do they look for their franchise quarterback? So there's a lot of questions. So for me, Fournette is still a really good running back. At the end of the day, he's a vet. And remember what I told you guys: you do not pay running backs, right? So if he's going to break the bank or if he's hurting the team in terms of his cost, then he's gone. Then you go younger. They already have Rachaad White waiting. Rachaad White is he's nice. He's nice. So he could be the guy that takes over for Fournette. The Giants right now currently have nobody under contract. Let's see what they do with Saquon Barkley. Do you pay Saquon Barkley or do you take that money and you invest in some wide receivers? Because Saquon wasn't a problem. The run game was not the problem, but he was a big part of the Giants' success this season. But I do believe they invest in wide receivers. So Saquon might or might not be back. You have the Jets. You have one of my favorite running backs in all of football, Breece Hall. Guy's a beast. What's tricky is right after Breece Hall, you have Michael Carter that was drafted in the 4th round a couple years ago. You have Knight, who came out of nowhere, Zonovan Knight, who did some things, and now you're hearing Zonovan Knight is better than Michael Carter. Michael Carter does have that draft capital, even though it's a 4th rounder. I will take Michael Carter over Zonovan Knight. Either way, they are in a great shape. All 3 backs are going to get love next year. But if Breece Hall comes back and he's fully healthy, he's the guy. He's going to be like how ETN came back and had to ease his way in. Breece Hall was on his way to winning the, rookie MVP. He was a guy, rookie of the year. He was going to win that rookie of the year or the offensive rookie of the year or the offensive player of the year for a rookie, whatever you want to call it. Breece Hall was well on his way. You go to Philly. Philly is interesting because they've been trying to get rid of Miles Sanders for years. Why? I don't know. I felt that Miles Sanders has always been solid, not great, and they probably feel that. So Miles Sanders could possibly walk. The Eagles could draft a guy. I hope they don't draft a guy. I hope the Eagles sign a vet because I want to see the Eagles great. As NFC East rivals, I don't want to see the Eagles be great. I'm sorry. But for fantasy purposes, that's fine. These guys help me make money in the fantasy, and that's cool. Pittsburgh, Najee Harris. I heard a lot of disrespect about Najee Harris this year. Everybody was saying Najee Harris is old, he's washed, he's this, he's that. Najee Harris is a talented back. He's a talented back. And I was doing a startup dynasty, and Najee Harris fell to the 6th round. That's criminal. I stole him and I ran. There should be no reason why Najee Harris is falling to the 6th round in certain startups. Either way it goes, he's a talented back. And what happens when Pittsburgh Steelers actually improve that offensive line? What happens when Pickett takes that next step? Najee Harris is a back to have. I understand he's a lot older than most second-year backs. I still like him. Jaylen Warren is nice. So Pittsburgh is solid. They're good for years to come. Maybe for the next 3-4 years, they're solid. Kenneth Walker. Anybody who knows me knows that I love Kenneth Walker. Even though I love Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker was my favorite running back in that class. And you guys saw what Kenneth Walker was able to do in that Pete Carroll offense. I mean, he's a beast. He's a stud, man. He is a 3-down back. And that's what running backs do. Once they come in, they're young. They are workhorses. Teams use them. They abuse them. And then when it's time to pay them, they let them go. So I like to draft my running backs in year 1, year 2, get them early, and then you ride that 5-year window. After that 5-year window, when they get up until I think 26, 27, by the time they hit 27, I'm getting rid of them. I don't want any old running backs on my NFL team or my dynasty team. So I get rid of them. So Kenneth Walker, he's going to be good for years to come. But I do think they bring in another guy that's solid, maybe a vet, to back up Walker. I don't trust Dallas. I don't trust any other running back that Seattle has put out there. Christian McCaffrey. He's a guy that people want to see win and then people want to see fail. It's crazy to me. The disrespect for Christian McCaffrey is crazy. He's one of the best running backs to ever do this thing. He can catch, he can run. What can he do? He's real solid. But outside of Christian McCaffrey, Mitchell, Davis Pierce, Mason, it's good to know and find out who the backup is. Pick up some of these guys, stash them in your roster, because at the end of the day, if he does get hurt, and we all know that San Francisco likes to use different running backs, so you want to make sure you have the entire San Francisco backfield, stashed just in case, because it's a power run team. And I do have the San Francisco 49ers winning the NFC. So I see them in the Super Bowl this year, and it's going to be a big part to what Christian McCaffrey can do. We already talked about Tampa Bay. The Tennessee Titans, Derrick Henry has been great. I think that Derrick Henry is a special human being. I see him as a guy that's similar to Adrian Peterson, guys that are workout heroes. They stay in shape. They're real solid. I mean, but the end is near for Derrick Henry. He's getting a little older, 2 years in a row of injuries. Can he continue to be that back for the Titans? And then the Titans seem to be a team that's going the opposite way. You lost your GM, new offensive coordinator, Tannehill maybe one more year. You tried to replace AJ Brown with guys like Treylon Burks, who's going to be good someday, but it just didn't work. So is Derrick Henry going to stick around for a rebuild or semi-rebuild, or because the Jags are on the way up? Once Houston gets the right quarterback, they could be on their way up. If the Colts get a quarterback, they're on their way up. So the reign for the Titans is really, really that window has closed. That window has closed. They're no longer the best team in that division. So it might be time to move on from Derrick Henry. Maybe you trade Derrick Henry to a team that's a Super Bowl contender, and then you possibly get a third-round pick, fourth-round pick back. I know it sounds crazy to now trade Henry for a third or fourth, but you do what you got to do, because he might not. How many more great years does Derrick Henry have? Are the Titans really a wild card team next year? It all depends on what happens in free agency, right? And what happens in the draft. So maybe the Titans move on. We don't know. You go to Washington. It's an interesting situation. You bring in Brian Robinson Jr., who's solid. He's a bruiser. You have Antonio Gibson. You can use in space. You have J.D. McKissick. I think that J.D. McKissick is the guy to get cut this year. And I do see the Commanders possibly bringing in somebody else who can possibly help elevate this RB room. Gibson is good in space. Robinson is good running down the middle. They just need that guy that can do a little bit of both. And I think they grabbed that guy during the draft this year. All right, let's go to some of these questions and then wrap this podcast up. So Mike Brown says, I wish they would pay running backs because their NFL lifespan is so short. Absolutely. I mean, it's cool to pay running backs, but then it's also not you that's paying these guys. As a business owner, you try to figure out how to, pay your staff, and then also be in a position to where you can make money. If you're not making money, then you're not, it's not business. So yes, the NFL definitely needs to find out a way to pay these guys, or try to guarantee more of their contracts. But let's say, for example, somebody pays Derrick Henry $60 million, let's say for 4 years or something like that, right? After 1 year into the contract, Derrick Henry gets hurt. Then what happens? They're tied to that money, meaning that they can't replace him because they're tied to that money. It's like in basketball. When Anthony Davis is hurt, you're praying that guys like Thomas Bryant on a vet minimum can produce the level of play that a Anthony Davis would. Basketball reference for those of you guys who watch basketball. So I think that's kind of why these guys don't get paid like they do. Think about it. The premium positions in football: quarterback, left tackle, cornerback, even defensive line, like, an edge rusher. Defensive tackles are now starting to get paid. Offensive guards just started getting paid. Those are positions that you can find in the mid rounds, because you pay your tackles, you pay your quarterback, corner, edge. Now you're starting to see some of these other positions become premium positions. Wide receiver is now a premium position. You need one or two good wide receivers. You're seeing teams draft a stud, and then you're seeing teams sign a stud, like the Eagles. Devontae Smith, right? Drafted stud. Then you have AJ Brown, who you traded for, who's a vet. So that's kind of like what's going on. Wide receivers are needed, quarterbacks are needed, offense are needed. And it seems like in a passing league, running backs are not needed as much as they used to be needed. So now they're also now devalued. So that's why you don't see a lot of running backs getting paid. Says, do you think Henry could have stayed healthy if that offensive line was better? It's possible. It's possible, but also giving Derrick Henry 30 to 35 carries, that's not going to help him to stay healthy. So it's a combination of things when it comes to these running backs and their health. Mike Brown says street clothes. Yeah, man, street clothes, AD, man. Anthony Davis cannot stay healthy to save his life. And as a Lakers fan, it is just so annoying just watching them and hoping, like, when is he going to be? Every time he goes up, he comes down, he gets hurt. And that's just the nature of sports sometimes. Hey, Meest, what's good? Says, Manny, my man, what's up, bro? I feel like all it would take is for a franchise to tag a RB for multiple seasons. That's why the QB market skyrocketed, because of Kirk Cousins being tagged multiple seasons. That's true, but who is crazy enough to even give a running back a tag multiple years? I'm sorry, there's no running back that can be replaced. Christian McCaffrey left Carolina and they became a power running team with guys like Blackshear and Chuba Hubbard and Deontay Foreman. So the RB position, I mean, you can find these guys so cheap. You can find these guys everywhere. So yeah, I don't think the RB money ever goes up. For one, they have a short lifespan. When running backs start playing, when running backs start giving you 10 good seasons or 10 solid seasons, then maybe you might just start seeing a health incentive to where, hey, if you're healthy this many games, if you play this many games, you get this X amount of money. It now becomes about health and productivity and actually getting on the field. So obviously they can definitely work out a deal like that that's, incentivized based off of getting on the field, staying healthy, getting into games and things of that nature. So guys, this is my time. Appreciate you guys hopping on the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. This is the Talking Sports with Manny podcast. Wanted to kind of give you guys an overview of the landscape of the NFL. It was real interesting, from the running backs 1 and 2s on several teams, the free agents that are in the NFL, like the most important ones, and also the rookie running backs. So next video that I'm going to drop, it's probably going to be sometime next week. I think this is it for me this week. I will catch you guys maybe in a couple weeks. I'll be going out of the country, so y'all keep me in prayer. And I'm going to catch you guys when I get back. I'm out, y'all. Peace.